In this video, I'll talk about staining the wood to bring out the grain, but also selecting a mounting plate for the controls. This video clip shows the guitar body sanded and ready for stain. I wiped down the body with a damp rag to raise the grain and show sanding flaws, and repeated that process a few times until it was really smooth. This also gave me an idea of what it'll look like when a finish is applied. And the video clip shows it as it's drying out. The photo shows what the body looked like after I applied the stain. I applied as much stain as the wood would take, and I used a lot of pressure to try and inject the stain down into the pores as much as possible. I let it dry for at least 4 hours. Then I started the sanding process to strip off the majority of the stain, but still leave enough in the grain to make it stand out a little bit. The photo shows what it looked like after the stain was stripped off. The video clip shows the body after it was wiped down with a damp rag to give another idea of what it would look like after the finish was applied. Once the body was completely dry, the first coat of oil was applied. I used boiled linseed oil. I really like boiled linseed oil because it looks and smells great, it's non-toxic, and it's pretty much idiot-proof. I opened up the hole where the controls go because I wanted to have more freedom in where I place the controls. I don't plan on putting the pickup selector switch in the same place it was. I'd like to have it a bit closer to the bridge. I use the pickup selector a lot when I play, but I rarely adjust the volume and I almost never touch the tone knob. If I do, it's probably a mistake. For me, the pickup selector switch is the most important control by far, so I thought about putting it a little bit closer for easier access. The difficult part was the control mounting plate. I spent a lot of time prototyping different control plate mount shapes with cardboard. I narrowed it down to two that I like. One shape for wood and one shape for metal. I created two different control mount plates. The wooden one is Paduke. The metal one is copper. I tried walnut, but it looked weird. Like the guitar had a bruise or an eye patch or something. It just looked like a smudge, I guess. It didn't look quite right. I didn't really like the way the copper looked when it was just shiny. I sanded it with 200 grit to kind of rough it up a little bit. And I sprinkled some hydrogen peroxide on it to give it a patina. I think that color goes better with the mahogany than just plain shiny copper, which really looked kind of weird. It just looked like there was a spot with no grain on the guitar. The hard part now is going to be deciding which one I want to use. Copper is easy because it basically just bolts onto the guitar with 4 screws. If I mess up the copper mounting plate, it's no problem. I just cut a new one. The wood control mounting plate, on the other hand, is difficult because it has to be glued, and I only get one chance to get that right. If I get it wrong, I have to basically grind it off and start over, and I don't even know if that would work. I'm going to have to machine everything perfectly before I glue it to the body. If I go with wood, it's going to take a lot of time to get everything. Drilling the holes is not a problem, but machining the slot for the pickup selector lever is going to be tricky, and my odds of success are a lot greater with copper than they are with wood. The grain in the wood is going to make that tricky. But right now, I think I like the look of the Paduke much better than the copper. I'm going to give it a few days, though, and keep looking at it because that could change. At some point, I might like the copper better. I don't know. Copper is going to be easier, and I can get it done a lot quicker, I think. But I'll look at them over the next week and just see. Once I get the control mounting plate figured out and finished, I'll prepare the guitar body for the final reassembly. And I'll put the final application of the oil and a few thin coats of a wipe-on polyurethane. I thought about paying somebody with a spray booth to spray a thick coat of poly so it would look like it did when it came from the factory, but I changed my mind on that. I'm just gonna put on a few thin coats of a wipe-on poly. I already roughed up the finish on the side, so I'll blend it in with that, and I'll get a good water seal with a few thin coats of polyurethane, and then that'll be it, because I like the way it looks now, and I want the final version to look like it does now, maybe with a tiny little bit of a gloss. The next video, I'll show the reassembly process. The body should be done, so I will put the neck back on, and I'll probably have to make a shim to go under the bridge because I sanded enough material away that I think the bridge is probably too low now. So I may just cut another piece of copper. That's probably the perfect height. I may try to cut a piece of walnut. We'll see. I have to measure it to see, but I'll discuss that in the next video because really, I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I know it's going to be needed.